That was my last one. About to get on the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Beer Battered Sports Podcast, the podcast created by sports fans for sports fans because we believe that we are the most qualified people to talk about our favorite teams. I'm your co-host, Isaac.
You know how I
Go ahead.
I said I'm 40, different location today, as always.
Yeah. And Noam will be joining us in just a second. He will be jumping on ASAP. And with that being said, welcome to episode 97, our 2023-24 NFL playoff preview episode. Lots to talk about today. We're going to go over the final games of the regular season, talk about everything going on with Black Monday and which coaches got shown the axe, including one that we just found out about literally a few minutes ago, actually, with Pete Carroll. We'll talk about that. And we'll do our big playoff breakdown. But before we do any of that real quick, are there any other stories from the rest of the sports world we want to talk about beforehand? Because it is stuff we're going to eventually start talking about once the playoffs wrap up. And that is that we need to pay attention to other sports too.
Yes. NBA wise, I don't know if anybody saw the game last night, the late game. Raptors head coach was very upset on a controversial game-tying three that would have put the Raptors and the Lakers in overtime. Raptors also only shot 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. The Lakers shot 23 free throws in the fourth quarter. The NBA has to – I mean, even me as a LeBron fan, Lakers fan, the NBA has to do a better job at these things, man, making these calls and, what they are calling a foul and what's not a foul and things like that, because it just seems as if – refs are swaying one way to give a team an advantage based on these foul calls that are happening.
I didn't get a chance to see the game. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on, but I don't think I've seen a coach that mad before in a long time.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, and again, we'll get more into talking about the NBA when the season kicks off. Well, not when the season kicks off, when football wraps up, because then we'll actually have a reason to talk about it, or we'll have no excuses to not talk about it.
And that's another thing too. I don't think I've really been too invested into the NBA as of late, just due to the fact that football season is still going and the playoffs are coming in or around. So I've been watching NBA, but I haven't been invested into it like I should. I do know that Ja Morant is out for the season, which sucks for the Grizzlies after missing 26 games. But that's about all I have seen in the NBA so far.
The Grizzlies were so close to getting out of that purgatory, and then they're just right back in it now that Ja's out. I will say I'm continually impressed by Minnesota and them staying at the top of the West. I think that I still don't know what to think come playoff time, because that's going to be the decider, but it is great to see teams you normally wouldn't see up front just
1,000%
kicking ass.
I'm definitely impressed with them. I'm definitely impressed with them to the fact that I believe Anthony Edwards only had about 6 or 8 points last night, and they were still able to turn around and have a blowout win. So when your star player is only giving you 6 to 8 points and you're still blowing a team out, that tells you that team is locked in and there's some chemistry there.
Now, we do have some breaking news recently. Adrian Wojnarowski just reported Kawhi Leonard has a new contract extension with the Clippers for a $100 million extension. Let me just pull this up. Yep. Kawhi Leonard signed a 3-year, $153 million contract extension, which includes $52 million in the first year, approximately $50 million a season over the next 2 years, no player option. This allows the Clippers to set the salary floor on a Paul George deal. Their current talks with George remain ongoing, Both players have to decline a $48.7 million player option to do a new deal.
I mean, shout out to Kawhi Leonard. I mean, the thing about Kawhi Leonard is his career is so weird because it's like he wins a ring with the Spurs and then he gets injured. He's out for like a year and a half. Then he comes back and he wins another ring with the Raptors. And he's out for a year and a half and like then he comes back and I don't know. Very weird career, but you know, I guess he's well deserving of the money. I mean, I guess after you go 0 for 6 against a 40-year-old, you get $100 million the next week. So I guess some people should just go 0 for 6 against a 40-year-old and they'll get $100 million.
Hey, man, I'll say Kawhi is one of my favorite players in the NBA right now. But I will admit, yeah, he's had a bizarre career. In particular, that one random half season in Toronto where he won it all, and then immediately goes to LA. I forgot he was still with the Clippers. I thought he had moved on to a different team. But then again, so many star players just jump around to all sorts of random teams nowadays. That's the one thing I kind of miss about sports growing up is that there was a lot more loyalty to the franchise that drafted you. But at the same time, I'm not going to say, oh, it should go back to that. Because even I'll be the first to admit, sometimes it's not the best to stick with the team that drafted you. I mean, we saw that with LeBron with his first stint with the Cavs. They weren't ready yet, no matter what he tried. And him going to Miami, really nailed down his legacy as the greatest player of all time. So
I mean, as much as I despise the guy, I'll be honest, that's kind of what was going on in Houston with Deshaun Watson as well. Great quarterback, came out of Clemson and just couldn't get a team around him.
Yeah. Well, apparently they didn't need him to make the playoffs now that we're seeing.
I mean, yeah.
We'll talk about that.
They didn't need him, DeAndre Hopkins, or J.J. Watt, which is absolutely insane to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we're going to get more into that when we get into our actual playoff preview. I do want to bring this up. Congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines, winners of the College Football National Championship. A impressive win over Washington in a very impressive game. As somebody who appreciates like good old-fashioned tactics when it comes to football, like power running and defense, it is really nice to see a team do that. It was nice to see the game be relatively close. I felt like it was a pretty good, entertaining game. And kind of ran away in the fourth quarter, but they just had the better strategy. They were able to shut down Michael Penix. Very fun game to watch. I will say, go ahead. You go first.
No, I was going to say 100% that, and it was a very great game until like you said, the fourth quarter. Because I believe, it was 20-13 in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll actually tell you when the game changed. The game changed. It was a 3rd and 4. Michigan sent an all-out blitz. Michael Penix hit the running back in the flat. The running back dropped the ball for the first down. Mm-hmm. After that drop there, you could just see the momentum shift in Washington because they were actually driving on that drive there, and they probably would have scored and tied the game up.
Yeah.
Once that happened and they had the punt, it was just like Michigan just took all the momentum back and the game was over.
Yeah, I feel like Washington was able to hang with Michigan at first, but they always seemed to be just one step behind them because Michigan's running game was just untouchable. They were just pounding it that entire game. And I really enjoyed seeing that. College football has evolved over the last decade and change into a sport that's completely dominated by passing attacks. There's not a lot of you don't see that classic, run first offense anymore. It's all about, just airing it out, pro style offenses, air raid, spreading the field. And that's fun and all. And that leads to some great highlight tapes. But there's also an element of the game that gets lost in that, an element of, kind of the strategy, an element of an older element that you don't see a lot of, that element of, strategizing, like pounding your opponents, getting physical in the trenches. That's something. And as somebody who, grew up watching this style of football and loves that style of football, I grew up a Bucs fan. The Bucs ran that type of offense.
Mike Allstott, great.
That was my guy.
Man.
Mike Allstott's the reason that I tried. Okay, got disconnected a little bit there. It's all good. There's our technical issue for the week. No, Mike Allstott, he was the guy I wanted to play fullback because of Mike Allstott. I was like, I want to be a big ass fullback, just pounding it up the gut because it works. We saw, you can still run that offense in modern day college football and have it work because if you keep hitting them head on again and again and again and again, eventually they're going to crack and you're going to blow the game open. And I will say this. Someone on Barstool was having a fit about this and how this game played out. I forgot who it was, but it's kind of the older guy that they have on some of their shows. He was going on a tangent about how, this was a terrible look for college football in the NCAA because the championship game was a one-sided affair and how it wasn't exciting and how that's not the product we need to be showing out there. Hey, that's how it works sometimes. Sometimes the biggest game of the year isn't going to go the way you think. And on top of that, it was still pretty exciting. It just wasn't the type of exciting you wanted.
Exactly. And the thing is, this game this year was a lot more competitive than that 63-3 bashing that Georgia put on TCU last year.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that guy is talking about. We had a great defensive battle for 4 quarters. Great running game, like you said, from Michigan. And it helps that they have 2 running backs that can do it, and Blake Karim and Donovan Edwards. So, I mean, I love the game. I don't know what that guy's talking about on Barstool.
I thought it was pretty good. Well, Barstool, I don't know. I don't really. I'll say this much: I follow Barstool, but only just to see what some of their personalities are going to say. That's like just wildly, just like what the hell? Because honestly, so I try not to bash other sports media companies. Although I know that here on Beer Better Sports, we have a tendency to do that. I'm not going to name names highly, but it starts with a K, ends with an E, and is an Eagles fan. But Barstool really just Barstool is tries to appeal to the lowest rungs of sports fans, and those are the people that are in it for 2 things. Those are the people who are solely in it for those Game 7 moments. And I think a lot of the magic of sports gets missed in that. Gets like lost in that. Like sometimes the crazy thing about sports is that it's extremely unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen in any game on any given Sunday, any given day of the week, whenever sports are played. You never know what's going to happen. Sometimes it's a complete ass whooping, like what we saw last year, or what we saw this year in the Orange Bowl with Georgia beating the crap out of Florida State's third stringers. Emphasis on third stringers. Let's not pretend that Florida State team's at full strength. Sometimes you get something really close. Sometimes you get something that's the most insane thing you've ever seen until it happens again. And I feel like wanting that last option to happen all the time on the biggest stage for the national championship, that's just going to make it so that that's antithetical to the idea, because you got to remember, the reason we remember legendary moments in certain sporting events, the reason we remember certain Super Bowls or certain national championship games above all others is because they had those moments that we keep looking back on it. Man, you remember that? If they all were like that, we wouldn't have that at all. You can't manufacture that shit. And I'll say that there are certain sports that try to do that. One of them in particular happening to be a sport I really love, NASCAR. NASCAR has been trying to do that for decades, and it just doesn't work. You can't manufacture that shit.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I agree with that for sure.
We got our first comment of the day. Yes, Yoni says breaking news of last half hour was Pete Carroll getting fired on Kawhi's side. Yeah, we did react. If you didn't see already, Yoni, we did react to Kawhi's new contract extension. But let's actually go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was just gonna talk about the Pete Carroll thing. It's actually very surprising to me.
It is.
They did say that, he may get another role in a different capacity and stay with the team. He's just going to not be the head coach anymore. But, I mean, that guy is giving Seattle a lot over the last decade here. I know they've missed the playoffs this year, but over the last decade, that guy's been nothing but consistent and had consistency as a head coach with that team. So it's very surprising to me.
Pete Carroll is, simply put, the greatest coach the Seahawks have ever had. He has been able to. Okay, how do I phrase? So the phrase is like this: if you watch old episodes of NFL Top 10, That show they used to play on NFL Network all the time. It was really great.
Yep.
They had an episode called Top 10 College Coaches Who Should Have Stayed in College, and Pete Carroll was number 10 on that list. This came out like back in like 2005 because Pete Carroll originally left college to coach the New England Patriots.
Right.
He was the coach right before Belichick showed up. And that didn't really work out. They weren't really that good. The Patriots were kind of a forgotten franchise before Belichick. They went to a couple Super Bowl and yeah, we know that. Not to get off on a tangent. Pete Carroll went back to college and turned USC into a monster. Those USC teams of the 2000s, like, I mean, yeah, they were they breaking the rules? Yeah, they violate a ton of NCAA rules. Yeah, but no one cares. The NCAA probably deserves to get their rules violated. Before he showed up, Seattle was one of those franchises that was kind of just locked in limbo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would look at their history, and it's like, they've had some good teams over the years. They've had a lot of good players. They even went to a Super Bowl, but they just they just never had that culture of getting it over the hump. Pete Carroll shows up and is immediately like, let's do this. I got this. The fact that in his first season, he took a team with a losing record, won their division, and won a playoff game, and would go on to win a Super Bowl, go to 2 Super Bowls with this franchise, that is crazy. It speaks to what he was able to do for that city. But at the same time, it's like, at some point, you can't stick with the same guy that long because you might end up with a situation like what's happening with Bill Belichick and the Patriots, where eventually the magic is going to run out. And I feel like over the last couple of years, we've started to see the magic start to run out for the Seahawks. They haven't been as competitive. The one playoff, they've been kind of on the fringe of making the playoffs. I'm surprised it happened now because I thought it would happen after next season, but it's still one of those things like, okay, this was inevitably going to happen.
I'll be honest. I think that changed their quarterback situation for the next year. I think that it was Pete Carroll that was so high on Geno Smith, but I think they might move in a different direction next year after this Pete Carroll thing.
Give Drew Lock a chance. Fingers crossed. I'm sorry, he's a Mizzou boy. I'm going to vouch for him as long as I can. I have that quote of mine is on the internet about me saying he's coming to his own, and it has. I swear. I do want to get your thoughts, 40, on the other coaches who got fired, and we'll go into detail about the actual games for Week 18. But
before we get into that, the most surprised, before you name that list there, the most surprising, and honestly, the one that actually hurt me the most, and I'm not even associated with this team or have anything to do with this team, but Mike Vrabel, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. Like, I just didn't understand it at all. Why that guy got his job taken away from him.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because Mike Vrabel was probably the best coach the Titans have had since Jeff Fisher, which is saying something, because Jeff Fisher kept Tennessee a contender throughout the 2000s with some garbage ass quarterbacks. Like, I just need to mention the name Vince Young, and everybody is like, "Oh, Vince Young, Texas. Ew, Vince Young, Tennessee." That's all you need to know. Mike Vrabel was able to bring Tennessee back to being contenders. They turned back into that team that, you looked at every year was like, well, I mean, they're going to be tough. Did he deserve to get fired? Probably not.
Hell no. And mind you, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Mind you, he did all that. He did all that after their owner traded AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And got rid of their star player. And it's just like, you see what the guy can do with the pieces that you did give him, that the pieces you left him with, and you see what he did for this team. And I don't know. It's just
I will say I'm not entirely surprised. I don't think he should have been fired because I think that Vrabel probably was a really good fit in Tennessee. But at the same time, he was being dealt a horrible hand. The trade of AJ Brown, plus the fact that Derrick Henry was like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Derrick Henry said something at the end of the game, something along the lines of, "Thank you guys so much for the last years. They've been the best years of my life." It's like, oh, he's either retiring or he is leaving in free agency.
Oh, yeah, he's leaving.
Vrabel would have been dealt a bad hand no matter what. But I will say this. I can kind of see where the Titans brass is coming from because there was last year's big season collapse, and this year they were pretty garbage. But also, you can't 100% put that. Brian Flores taught us, the Brian Flores incident taught us, you can't put that on the coach all the time. Sometimes that's just how To use a cliche, that's how the cookie crumbles. I do think though that if he ends up anywhere, I would really, really, and I hate to say this,
Washington.
Oh no, not Washington, man. There's only one place I want to see Vrabel. What team did Vrabel play for when he was in the NFL, when he was a player?
The Patriots.
Yeah.
That'll be nice.
I want to see Mike Vrabel return to New England to replace Bill Belichick. We got a comment here from Jeff Barber who says, we got some talented young players, the number 1 and number 9 pick of the draft, the 6th most cap space in the league, but none of that matters because we are keeping Matt Eberflus. Yeah, the Bears did not fire Matt Eberflus. I honestly didn't think they were going to, because to be completely fair, the Bears kind of turned it around over the second half of the season. But at the same time, I don't know. What's your take on that, 40? Because I don't think Matt Eberflus is necessarily a bad coach. I think he's just, the Bears are just rebuilding, and it's expected it was going to be rough the first couple of years.
1,000%. And not only that, they like you said with the Vrabel situation getting dealt a bad hand. They got dealt a bad hand this year when Justin Fields is out for a couple weeks. I mean, I'll be honest. I can't name you a Chicago receiver besides DJ Moore. So, when you don't have too much talent around you and too much talent around your quarterback, there's only so much you can do. Another thing I'll be honest with is I don't think they should get rid of Justin Fields. I don't, and if they think Caleb Williams is their answer, they're absolutely crazy, because Caleb Williams is not better than Justin Fields. I can tell you that hands down, 100%. I've seen Justin Fields do immaculate things against great defenses. I've seen Caleb Williams fold in college against great defenses. So, I think they should keep rebuilding with the quarterback that they have as well as the coach that they have. I mean, you can't really call them shit because, like you said, they're in a rebuild right now. And I feel like they have been in a rebuild for a couple of years. But I wouldn't be surprised with the first pick and the 9th pick if they take a very, very big step this year.
Mm-hmm. And I will listen. I won't lie. I'll give Jeff, the original commenter, I'll give you credit. I don't think Matt Eberflus is a great coach. Yeah, because he does. You do bring up the point here. You do bring up that you guys had some pretty gnarly leads blown the last couple of years, and you are right. You did, and that definitely does go on the coach. So I will agree with you. I don't think he's a great coach, but I don't think the Bears should move on from him just yet. Now, if the Bears are terrible again next year, 100%. I just don't believe in like kicking a coach to the curb after just 2 seasons. I think you got to give him at least 3 to see what happens.
And here's the thing too.
Yeah,
I always hear, like Jeff's comment there about throwing 3 big leads. I understand the coach is the one that game plans. He calls the plays and things of that nature, this, that, and the third. But there's players out there on the field that have to execute the plays. So I just don't understand why always it's the coach that gets the short end of the stick when the players are out there and they are the ones that have to produce. Like, for example, Washington. You could see Washington gave up a long time ago. When their players checked out, Ron Rivera checked out. So I wouldn't even put all the blame on Ron Rivera because his players checked out a long, long time ago. So, it's just like sometimes I can't put these blown leads all on coaches because it's the players that have to go out there and execute the stuff. And then on top of that, it's like there's a player out there that has the power to audible, the power to, if he sees something, he can make a call. That like they have specific. Usually it's a middle linebacker on the defense side, quarterback on the offensive side. If you don't like something, change it. They have the power to do that, and a lot of these players don't take the power that they have to change something when they see something. If the coach calls something bad, but you see something different, and you feel like that is different, that's what should be called at that time. Make the audible, but.
Fair enough.
Then it all goes back on the coach. And it's like, oh, the coach blew the lead. The coach blew the lead. No, the coach didn't do shit. He's not out there playing. He just made a play call.
Now, sometimes, and I'll say this, sometimes it 100% is on the coach. There are some coaches in NFL history that I will look at and be like, oh my God, like what the fuck were you thinking? One of those we're about to get into because there are 2 other coaches we got to talk about. But you are right. The players, it does fall on the players. I'd say most of it does fall on the players and their execution. That being said, I still think some blame should go to the coach in terms of the play calling, but
for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other 2 coaches who got fired. We'll start with your guy, Ron Rivera.
Long overdue, man.
Yeah, saw that one coming.
Long
That
overdue.
it honestly was it was a case of, listen, Riverboat Ron is one of those guys that, he's a coach you definitely, how do I put this? He's the kind of coach that coming in, we thought, this is exactly what Washington needs. They need somebody, because you saw what he was able to do in Carolina.
Right.
But I think we all thought coming into this season, with the change in ownership, the change in the front office, that finally he's going to be able to do what he can do with this team. And honestly, that hasn't happened. So get out the way, make way for Eric Bieniemy. Here we go.
That one was long overdue, just because when he first came in, he said this is a 4 to 5 year plan, and we'll be top of the top in the next 4 to 5 years. The guy went to the playoffs his first year, and we've gotten worse every year since then.
Yeah. I mean, some coaches, they come in and at first, the team struggles and aren't really that good. And it's like, okay, yeah, well, kind of expected that to happen.
And then it's like, I don't know if he had anything to do with it, but getting rid of Chase Young and Montez Sweat was probably the worst thing that he did as a head coach.
Yeah.
Or the worst thing that franchise did while he was the head coach.
Those are generational defensive talents, and you're just going to send them away for futures. You can't third round pick. Like the restaurant that I work at, we had a deal named after Chase Young, and we jokingly would say, we had to take all the posters down after he got traded. We jokingly would say, oh, it's now the third round pick deal. Speaking of which, here comes Gnome. Welcome to the show, Gnome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Sorry I'm late.
No problem, bro. We were just talking about the Black Monday coaches firings. Ron Rivera, rapid fire. Ron Rivera, go.
Inevitability. We knew it was coming. 40's been saying it since when? Midway through the year.
I mean, you were saying it last year too.
To hold him accountable after that initial prediction of Coach of the Year. After that wore off real quick from 40, then all of a sudden we started hearing, he needs to go, and we knew it was the case. He's a great guy. We knew he would be gone. Here he is gone. There, nothing.
He had me fooled. I won't lie to you, Gnome. He had me in the first half. He did.
Yeah, I mean, because the two Eagles games, right? Like, yeah, of course, he had me too. I was like, this team can play and they can hang. And then you were also kind of convincing me too. I gotta stop listening to 40.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, appears that my battery is about to die, so I'm gonna turn my camera off real quick so I can get my my charger plugged in, and you guys won't have to see my fat ass walking around the room. But with Ron Rivera done, Gnome, real quick, I want to hear your thoughts on Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll being fired.
Vrabel surprises me. He's had a lot of early. I know, people will point to the record in the last 2 years, which has not been good, or last 3 years even. But the first 3 were spectacular. I mean, I think he's the right guy for the job. I think it was more like kind of front office failings and failing to get the right people around him. He came to a team with Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback and Derrick Henry as in his prime as running back. Now, Derrick Henry, I don't believe is in his prime anymore. I think he's just out of it. I think he's still got a lot of juice left, but I think he's out of his prime. And Tannehill has fallen off. Now, so who do we have to replace him? They took Malik Willis. I guess they've already given up on him, so we can call that pick a bust early. Yeah. And then Will Levis is kind of just a mix of nothing. He could work out. He might not, but is he the guy? We don't know. I think if you get the guy there and you give Vrabel a good roster, he's a solid coach. To Derrick Henry is 30 and a free agent. Yeah, no, I saw. He gave that whole speech in midfield, the hey. All right, guys, I love you. It's been great 8 years. I saw him doing that. So I was like, yeah, he's out of there.
The thing is, Derrick Henry being 30, I know they say running backs start to decline after 27 or whatever, this, that, and the third. Honestly, I wouldn't even say that Derrick Henry is out of his prime, because I just think his team is horrible. And honestly, they didn't even give him the touches this year that he usually gets. Like, Tajay Spears was involved in that offense a lot. There was games where I saw Derrick Henry only getting 4 or 5 touches a game. This Tajay Spears guy is getting 16, 17 touches. So
yeah, there's something to that, but I do keep in mind, though, if that's the case, it's probably because they know a little bit more about Henry than you or I might, just simply because the last couple of years before that, look at his touches. Like, he was leading the league almost every time, except for the 1 year where Jacobs did. Jacobs' rookie year, I think, Josh Jacobs. So they were giving him all those touches, and now they're giving him less. That tells me something. I don't think that for some reason they've lost some kind of faith in him or something like that. And again, I'm actually with you. I don't think he's surprised me so much. He's the exact kind of running back I would think would be. I mean, Jesus Christ, like the constant contact, he'd be out by 26. But no, he's 30, still rumbling, still one of the best running backs in the league.
Here's the thing. Right now, Noam says he's out of his prime. Once he signs with Baltimore, he won't be out of his prime anymore.
Well, yeah, okay. I agreed.
I hope he
or
does.
If he goes to Philly, same deal. But yeah.
He's not going to Philly. I think he's going to go and take his talents to Baltimore and play with Big Mar.
Oh, yeah.
And if that's the case, the Ravens are going back to back.
Oh, hey, they got to win the first one first. Let's knock on wood there.
Don't worry about that. They're winning the first one.
Well, before we talk about the one coach who I think we all are very happy got fired, real quick, Pete Carroll. How do you think about that?
I just heard about this a couple minutes ago. Pete Carroll. What's the situation? He's stepping down, but
he will have a. Well, I just got another notification, and it says he will have a role in the front office, but he will not be the head coach anymore.
Okay, interesting. So he's kind of more stepping down rather than getting fired. It looks like
he is in his 70s. Like a lot of coaches, at this point,
I think 72 or 73. Yeah,
he's one of the oldest coaches in the. Look, if he's stepping down, all eyes are now on Belichick because because kind of coaches are in a similar situation. Team that was really good for a while, but has now kind of fallen off. But the Seahawks are still relatively competitive.
They're much more competitive than the Patriots, for example. You got a point, Isaac.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Belichick, but with that, I'm not overly shocked, but I am slightly surprised.
I feel the same way. I feel
that's literally how we both said it too before you got on the show.
Who do you think? Who's there to replace Carroll though? Like, what are they really? How many coaches out there are an actual upgrade to Pete Carroll? Like, I would say there's probably a handful, but
not a lot. Not a lot.
I think we're going to see a lot of rookie coaches this year.
We will talk about this.
Eagles losing
Kylie.
Monday.
We'll talk about that in a second. We'll get into that in a second, Kylie.
Come on now.
It's just because let's chill on that right now.
We can go back about 8 episodes ago. We told you about the Eagles.
One last coach talk about the one we all knew. Falcons fans rejoice. Arthur Smith is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm very happy about that because now we'll get to see the real Bijan Robinson that we were all waiting for this year.
I saw somebody on
Twitter. To see the real Kyle Pitts finally.
I saw somebody on Twitter say watching Arthur Smith coach teams is like if the greatest show on turf during their prime, if Dick Vermeil and Mike Martz told Kurt Warner, okay, don't throw to Torrey Holt, throw to Ricky Prohl.
Yeah.
Nothing against Ricky Prohl. He was great in the clutch, but
you do have 2 Hall of Fame receivers. Well, we'll see how Torrey Holt stacks up this year, whether he gets in, but 2 Hall of Fame receivers.
Yeah, it's like Arthur. I've never seen a coach so offended at using, his best players. It's like generational running back talent, great receiver, fantastic tight end. Nah, I'm just gonna run the ball with Tyler Algier and see what happens.
It was weird, right?
You got a 6'5" Drake London. You got a 6'5" Kyle Pitts.
Pitts is a freak.
And then you have a maniac in the backfield that could break anybody's ankles in the
LaDainian Tomlinson-esque.
Yeah. And then you run your whole offense through a guy that I wouldn't even say was even slightly on the same caliber of any of those 3 people we just named.
Yeah.
He's a good player, don't get me wrong. Tyler Algier is a great player, but he's not on the level of those 3 players we just named. Is that a Lamar one?
It's Pop Lamar Jackson.
I love it. I need that. Where'd you get that?
It's a long story. We'll save that for a rainy day.
I'm not gonna.
Pop Lamar Jackson has his own origin story. I'm just gonna have him sitting right here so he can be on screen if my name tag ever gets removed.
Let's turn to this point to last week's games and quickly go over what happened because we do want to get into the actual playoff preview. But I'll just go rapid fire through the games and talk about quick reactions. First up on Saturday, the Ravens proved that, yes, as long as 8's on the field, they will win because 8 wasn't on the field. And, well, the Steelers swept them.
I don't think that's what 40 means when he says that. And I dislike the sentence you just said. I strongly oppose it.
Hey, man, listen, that was my brother was at the game and he texted me at halftime. He's like, bro, I'm going home. It's too cold, rainy, and bad for me to be out here.
Not only that, this is the reason the Steelers are going to get their ass whipped this weekend in the first round of the playoffs is because These guys went on Twitter after and say, "Walk in your trap, take over your trap." You beat the.
They don't belong here. They don't belong here.
You beat the third stringers.
They don't belong here.
I understand you. I understand you beat Lamar and those guys the first time in Pittsburgh, but that was bad coaching at the end of the day.
Most drops in the league that game.
And then a lot of drop passes that game as well.
3 drop touchdowns, and y'all won by 7.
Exactly. And then this time, and look, you beat the third stringers by 7. Like, it makes no sense. So I don't know.
I actually have a hot take.
Go ahead.
If you want to hear it. This may just be some copium, but I don't think the Ravens wanted to win. I mean, obviously they could have won if they played Lamar. That's not what I'm saying. Of course you're going to rest Lamar. I mean, I didn't see a lot of the normal play calling. I think they were resting everything for the playoffs, schemes, everything. This was an irrelevant game. The players, the backups were playing for a chance to win, and some performed pretty well. I thought Trenton Simpson did all right at linebacker, and Huntley was not good, but that's what it is. But
that's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley to you.
That's correct. Pro Bowl alternate Tyler Huntley. But so this was the situation coming into last week. If I don't know if our viewers remember from when we discussed the playoff picture last week, but essentially we discussed who we would want in the playoffs and everything like that. And I said I couldn't say it. I couldn't say I wanted the Steelers to win, but at the same time, I'm less scared of Mason Rudolph in the playoffs than I am of Josh Allen. Josh Allen, to me, is more dangerous in the playoffs than Mason Rudolph. So I'd rather have the Steelers in the playoffs than the Buffalo Bills. Now, this depended on 2 things. The Dolphins had to beat the Bills, and the Ravens had to lose, essentially. And of course, obviously, the 11-5 Jags or whatever, we're obviously going to beat a 5-11 Titans team. So, nothing to worry about there, right? Right? So basically the Ravens lost for nothing because the Bills get in because the fucking Jags suck dick. So we lose to the Steelers for nothing, for literally no reason. Steelers get in and the fucking Bills get in, and I'm furious. So I don't think my hot take is the Ravens didn't want to actually win this game. They were just kind of banking on the chance to get one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC to miss it, just counting on Miami to win that game, and the Jags take care of business. But unfortunately, the Jags fucking suck, so they didn't.
Yeah,
and they're horrible, and they're terrible, and their quarterback has long hair. So take that, Trevor. Got him. No, I'm fucking pissed. Not that it matters.
Wow, this
Buffalo won anyways,
salty.
and they were kind of winning in.
This man,
yeah. What the Steelers and Josh Allen's in the playoffs? This is the last thing I wanted, bro. Of course, I'm fucking salty.
Yeah, it could have been worse. Could have been worse. Saints could have got in. There was a moment on Sunday where I was scared to death the Saints were about to make the playoffs. At least that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'd be so much more upset, obviously, if that happened.
I know I would. I don't care about you. I would. Shout out to the Texans beating the Colts in that classic game on Saturday night to clinch the AFC South. Did not see this team winning the South this year at all. Did not.
The Bucks?
No, the Texans.
Oh, the Texans. Yeah. Did you see when the game ended? Did y'all see CJ's face? CJ Stroud, like just how happy he was, just like leave me on the field. That's the kind of playoff moment that we live for as football fans.
Oh yeah,
that is the kind of stuff that we really like to see.
I was so happy. I'm happy for the Texans, even though
I'm happy for them as well.
Even though I think their team is an abomination that shouldn't exist, but
DeMeco
hashtag Oilers.
Okay, all right. That's
I'm kidding.
That's a take.
That is a take.
That's one of the takes of all time for sure.
Nah, it's all good. Moving on to Sunday's games, the Bucks clinched the NFC South for the 3rd year in a row with a ugly win over the Panthers. Hey, it was ugly, but we did what needed to be done, and I'm excited for the playoffs. Even if we probably have to go up against a really pissed off Eagles team, that's going to be fun.
Correct. Although, but you guys won that game 9-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
The Bucks have a habit of winning playoff clinching games in the most bullshit way possible. So I'll just point that out. Cincinnati's backups took care of business against Cleveland. Cleveland was resting their starters, obviously. For the love of God, don't let Joe Flacco get hurt because I guess in this case the 5th string quarterback for the Browns is Jeff Driscoll. So, oh no, don't let Flacco get hurt.
What happened to PJ Walker?
I don't know. I think he's hurt. Detroit
the only
wrapped
one left who actually likes PJ Walker.
Detroit wrapped up their season with a big win over Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Jets beat the Patriots in the first and only snow game of the 2023 regular season. Sad what this world has come to, where there's only just one snow game. Was this game Bill Belichick's final game? Maybe. Who knows? If it
Hasn't
is,
been one of the initial cuts. I definitely think it's something that the organization is discussing.
they can't fire him. They can't fire him. What's going to happen is that he's going to step down. Firing Bill Belichick would be a stain on their legacy. It would just not look good, even if it was deserved. He's going to step down, and Mike Vrabel's going to take over, and it's going to be fantastic.
Okay, again though, can I ask you guys something?
Yeah.
What do you guys think they get anyone better than Bill Belichick in there? Because I think Bill Belichick is still one of the best coaches. I mean, I'm not, keep in mind he's not, what he used to be, I guess, but maybe is probably a little bit outdated because he's been coaching forever. But I mean, can they actually upgrade their head coach?
I actually wouldn't even say that Belichick isn't what he used to be. Look at his fucking offense for the last 2 years.
It's the roster, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the roster.
And you still see that his defensive minded side is still there because there's a lot of games where he didn't get blown out. They just lost the game. His team was only letting up 10 points, 12 points, 15 points, 17 points. And
a bunch of 6-0s.
Yeah, like just last week it was 6-3 or whatever, 9-3 or some bullshit like that.
9-3, I think, something like that.
So it's just that his offense can't put points on the board, but his defense is still always solid. So I wouldn't even say he's still the same coach. I just think that's the roster, man. That roster is terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure that he still has whether or not he has his general manager privileges or something, but they should have revoked those ages ago. He's not a good GM, but as a head coach, I still think he can do it. I think if they get in a GM who knows what he's doing and can actually put a good roster together, I genuinely think Bill Belichick will be fine, and the Patriots will be competitive.
Because he's acting like he still has Tom Brady and shit. That's the way he's constructing his roster.
Yeah, like he has a strong, he always put the strong defense in place for Brady. Like Brady played almost every year, or at least, I'm sorry, that's probably not true, but probably more than half. I think at least 12 years in New England were with a top 10 of that, for example. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Bill Belichick always was able to put a solid defense around him and get players who you wouldn't necessarily think would work elsewhere into these positions where they can be effective. Like, he was one of the best. He is one of the best people at utilizing defensive skill sets to his advantage, to like using players' specialties and getting like the correct packages in there on the correct downs to be able to make, players play their most effectively. Now he's not perfect or anything like that. No one is, and football's a game, things happen. But honestly, I just think you get a better offense in there because I think, his offensive line has been up and down, but obviously it's the quarterback. He needs a guy who can throw the ball and make good decisions. Does that mean he gets fired this year? I don't know. We don't know what things look like from the inside of the Patriots organization. He could get fired because it's definitely been talked about all over the media. And, usually where there's smoke, there's at least a little bit of fire, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. What do you think, Isaac? Do you think get rid of him?
Honestly, I think that they move on from him. I feel like it's been trending that way all season long. I mean, I don't know, because like knowing Bill Belichick, the big question obviously is, can he get the Patriots out of this mess? And I honestly don't know. I really don't know, because you look at his record. I was watching this video that was taking a look at Bill Belichick's record when he didn't have Tom Brady on his roster, and honestly, it's honestly not that good. And
no, it's not.
It's really not that good. And you would think that one of the greatest coaches of all time would be able to adapt to those situations, and they really haven't.
Well, I think that changed after he lost those, core guys that have always been there and stuff like that. Because I will say there was a time where Brady was injured. He went 6-0 with Garoppolo, and then he went 4-0 with Jacoby Brissett as his quarterback. So
went 11-5 with Matt Castle.
11-5 with Matt Castle, exactly. So so. I just think it's the complete roster as a whole. So But definitely losing Brady was a big factor to that guy's career. I mean, even the old players and stuff always said, it was Brady did a lot of that stuff there. That was Brady.
I will say the Patriots. This is, I believe, This was the last game for what's his name, the special teamer, Matthew Slater.
Yes,
Matthew Slater. This was the final career game for Matthew Slater, the longtime special teamer for the Patriots. By the way, I'm
really?
curious.
Oh,
Yeah, he's hanging it up. By the way, just curious, guy. He's been playing since 2008. Of course he's going. He's like, bro, is 38 years old. Real quick, 3 Super Bowl champions, 5 first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 10 Pro Bowls. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
What?
Matthew Slater?
Yeah.
No.
As a special teamer.
Does he get in? I mean, as a special teamer, he could get in, yeah.
But there's no as a special teamer thing. There's no as a special teamer clause.
Yeah, if it's
otherwise Hester would have been in year one.
If it's based on position at wide receiver, hell no. I don't give a shit about the 3 Super Bowls. There's so many receivers that don't have Super Bowls that had greater careers than that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I don't think if he was. I do think special teams is part of the game, and he's one of the best to ever do it. But
you got a point. If any special teamer needs to get in because of special teams, it's Devin Hester first,
and he's been held out for 2 years now.
Oh yeah.
At least 2 years.
I did want to talk briefly about this game. The Saints-Falcons game had an interesting ending that Yoni actually brought up in a comment. He said, man, not upset about losing 48-17, upset about the last second like they had a chance. He's talking about Arthur Smith's reaction to that.
I don't think he was upset because as if they had a chance, and it's like...
Yeah, he wasn't.
He knew they were losing anyways. I think it was more of a sportsmanship thing.
Well, from what I've understood, the Saints coaching staff had told Jameis Winston, run out the clock. And Jameis told the guys at the huddle, Jamal Williams hasn't scored a touchdown all year. So I'm going to fake take the knee and hand it to Jamal.
What's your take, Isaac? And we want to know, what's your take, man? Like, obviously you got something to say. I can see it on your face. Just come on, say it.
I don't know if it's family, if it's fired up sports friendly. That's the thing.
Okay, well, translate it into fired up sports friendliness and say it.
Typical Saints behavior is all I'm
okay, what say. Is though? Like, who is to blame for this though?
Well, so listen, I mean, I'm not really too upset with what Jameis did because at the end of the day, game doesn't end until clock hits 0. So
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's not the Saints' fault that the Falcons stopped playing. There's still time on the clock. You guys are still on the football field. So if you're still on the football field, that means the game is still going.
I'm just more annoyed. I think that the Saints didn't use Jamal Williams the way they should have all season, which led to this situation where they were like, let's get one for the guy. Because Jamal Williams is actually low-key a really good player. Last year with the Lions proved that. I think the Lions should have
stayed there.
He should have stayed there instead of going to that team in New Orleans. So I think it's more of just that. It's more of just like you guys had Jamal Williams all season and you didn't do anything with him until now. And it's caused all this controversy. Like, of course, the Saints have to cause controversy. I mean, my God. Just
all right. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I'm trying to contain myself. It's just, there's so many things, so many words I want to say about the Saints that I just.
Who is to blame? Okay. Who is to blame, Isaac? Who's to blame for what happened? And is anyone to blame?
I blame Jameis Winston because Jameis Winston honestly deserves way more shit than he gets.
You know why I don't blame Jameis Winston? Because Jameis is just being Jameis, man. Jameis has been the same way since he was in college. This is the same Jameis that got suspended, and he came out to warm-ups. And what was the guy? Who was this college coach?
I don't remember. Was it Riley?
No. Jimbo Fisher.
Jimbo Fisher.
So, yeah, this is the same guy that got suspended for the game, and he goes out to warm-ups, and Jimbo Fisher has to tell him, like, dude, you're not supposed to be suited up. You're suspended. And, there's just Jameis being Jameis, man. Like, same Jameis that stood up in the middle of the classroom and said, fuck her right in the pussy. Like, sorry, excuse my language, but, that Jameis just being Jameis, man.
It's so hard to dislike him because he's on the Saints, and I know all of the shit that he has been accused of from his college days and all, like, the, like, really fucked up shit.
There is stuff there.
There is some.
And I know you already hated him because he's a former Buck that went to the Saints, and he tends to beat the Bucks whenever he's like starting for the Saints against those Bucks, and he's on now he's on the Saints. There's every reason
if
for
he
you
had
to
been
dislike
good
him,
for
Isaac.
us, if he had been good for us, maybe it's just.
But this is the thing. I mean, he threw 30 touchdowns for you guys. He just also threw 30 interceptions.
Exactly. It's like, man, we can't have shit with this guy.
Here's my take on the situation. Okay. It's very interesting that the coach said one thing and Jameis just went and did another thing, just completed it. I would be pro Jameis for this, not because I have anything I'm fond of Jameis at all, but because it's a nice thing to do for your teammate. Get him a touchdown, man. He hasn't scored all year. I understand it. I do have issues with this, and I think that I don't necessarily think I think Arthur Smith had reason to be upset, but not just because they were running up the score or anything like that. It's because they were in victory formation and they ran a fake out of victory formation. Now, this isn't like a fake spite. This is taking the knee, the finger. I saw someone say this, and I was like, man, I gotta agree. You're this position is to end the game peacefully, no injuries, nothing like that, and they fake it and go for a touchdown. I gotta say. Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a little bit messed up. It's not cool at all.
Typical Saints
when you
behavior.
look at it from that viewpoint, then I understand.
Yeah,
I
yes,
get it.
I was with what you said. I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Jameis being Jameis, get your guy the touchdown. It's a good thing for Jamal Williams and anything like that. Whatever. I'm with that. But if you're in victory formation and you run a fake on the goal, I mean, come on, that's messed up.
Yeah, well, now that was Mashville stuff.
You can get someone hurt. You can get someone really hurt.
When you put it like that, definitely, for sure, that was messed up. But if he was going to go against it, then I think he should have just – not many people are talking about the whole going rogue on the coach part. Dennis Allen maybe lost the locker room.
Oh, I hope he did. I hope he did. It would be wonderful.
I think he did. I mean, I don't think
wonderful.
Dennis Allen – I just think he's one of the least inspiring coaches that I've seen in general this year. I don't think anyone really believes in him.
Yeah, because the thing is, all the Saints players were like, I stand behind Jameis and all that too. So I wouldn't be surprised if that guy lost the locker room.
Yeah, and I don't like the way Dennis Allen handled it. Like you're the head coach. I don't know what coaching tree Dennis Allen is from, but I don't think he's from.
What the hell? What the hell? I didn't even notice that. I just was like, oh, someone commented facts. I didn't even notice the name. That's top tier, bro.
Fired up sports friendly episode.
Oh man. Well, shit. If I'm gonna put that up there, I'll say what I said about. I'll be honest with what I was gonna say about the Saints. Typical New Orleans behavior. Typical Cajun behavior.
Okay. All right. There we go. There it is.
Yeah.
He hates everything.
Isaac doesn't like Cajuns. All right. Let's get to our actual playoff preview. I'll quickly go over the rest of the games that happened so far. Titans, of course, upset the Jags. Jacksonville's knocked out of the playoffs. It's complete inverse of what happened last year when the Titans collapsed late in the season, allowing Jacksonville into the playoffs. Titans knocked the Jags out.
Deserved.
What's crazy to me is Jacksonville last year started the season 4-7 and made the playoffs. They had a 3% chance to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs. This year they started the season 8-3, 97% chance to make the playoffs, and they don't make the playoffs. Garbage. I don't think people were talking about it.
I thought,
damn right for it. Garbage.
No one was really mentioning how Jacksonville was completely falling apart. All it was just like, oh well, the Jags, they're having their troubles. It was like a few people were like, they're in free fall. Why is no one talking about it? It's just like, oh, they're just going through a rough patch.
You know why that no one was talking about it, right? Because someone else was in some other team was in even more of a free fall.
Oh yeah.
Well, and this has kind of been a weird year where everyone's kind of has all these good teams. Chiefs went into free fall, Eagles went into free fall, Jags went into free fall, and then you have a bunch of other teams that are kind of seem fraudulent, like the Chiefs, Dolphins, Cowboys, Seahawks, and Eagles all really struggled against good teams. Lions too, all really struggled against good teams. What's going on this season, man? It's been a weird season.
It has been weird.
Every team has an asterisk except one.
Pete Carroll's final game as head coach of the Seahawks is a win after the Cardinals missed a game-winning field goal. I'll be honest, Cardinals played above their pay grade this year. They kept themselves in games that they shouldn't have. I will give the Cardinals credit. There's a reason Jonathan Gannon's being kept on for a second year.
Especially missing Kyler Murray half the season. Yeah, they definitely did.
Yeah. Packers beat the Bears to clinch a playoff berth. Congrats to Jordan Love and the Pack. I think they're the youngest team to ever make the postseason in terms of median age, so that's impressive. Chiefs best the Chargers with most of their starters sitting. Raiders finish off the Broncos. Big question for you guys. Did the Raiders keep Antonio Pierce?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
In my
100%.
opinion, I think he got the team playing for him, and I think they put up a really good fight. I would have liked them to actually win out and make the playoffs, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But no, I
don't think that was
so.
going to happen.
They would be stupid as hell if they don't keep that man.
Well, knowing Mark Davis, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough, but at least give him a season. Look what you gave Josh McDaniels.
True. Rams beat the Niners to clinch the 6th seed, setting up a very interesting playoff matchup on Sunday night. Shout out to Carson Wentz coming off the bench in that one and doing a great job. And shout out Puka Nacua for breaking the rookie reception and receiving yards record.
Get this. Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz both scored a rushing touchdown this weekend.
What year is it?
I don't know.
What year is it? Is it 2018? Oh, God.
Sam Darnold's kind of impressed me as a backup when he's been on the field against the Ravens. He did really good for what singular drive that he was in there for. And he did all right in this game, too. I mean, not great. But
something about USC quarterbacks just being really good backups.
I mean, he can't be a starter. And obviously Wentz, I don't know. That was fun. It was fun to see Carson. What year is it, though? Flacco's back?
Flacco,
it's 2018. Wentz. It's 2018, man.
It does feel like it.
Julio Jones.
Yeah. Julio Jones scoring touchdowns. Yeah, what's going on, man? What is going on?
Over in the NFC East, the Cowboys crushed the Commanders to clinch the division, while the the Eagles. Okay. Who wants to say it? Does anyone who wants to say it? No, you know what meme I'm thinking of, right? Well, exactly. You know what I'm going to say, right? Who wants to say it?
No, go ahead. You have to say it.
Wow, it's like the whatever was afflicting the 2020 Steelers finally got over to the other side of the state.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah.
No.
They lost.
I mean, as Kylie said,
they lost 5 of their last 6 games.
Yep, started the season 9-0 and finished 2-5.
Started 10-1.
Oh, 10-1, yeah, 10-1 and finished 2-5.
10-1, like
1-5, absolutely insane.
That I've never. Yes, I had the 2020 Steelers. Yes, I've seen teams fall apart like this. They are one and done in the playoffs. I'll know one thing. I was driving home from work. They were down 24-0 to the Giants. And Kylie texted me. She's like, "Well, don't talk to me for the rest of the week, and don't talk to me after your team beats us in the wild card." So
I'll tell you this. Shout out to San Francisco, man. San Francisco put the blueprint on how to beat those guys and how to, take away that offense as an entirety.
Yeah.
And people have taken what San Francisco did, and they're doing it as well, because I saw that game last week, and I saw the Giants run a stunt that San Francisco ran on defense, and it literally worked the same way that it worked for San Francisco. And I was like, it's such a copycat league. This is crazy.
It is such a copycat league. I don't know if I entirely agree with that. Just because the San Francisco offense is pretty unique, and they just blew up the Eagles defense. Like, they exposed them so badly that game, and I don't think they ever recovered, frankly. But I haven't seen other teams go after that defense the same way San Francisco did. Now, the offense, I do agree. Yeah, I mean, that's the exact same concepts. The Eagles offense, their lack of adaptability means they're susceptible to the same shit over and over again, which is that is a dagger in this league, right? Like in a copycat league, that is a dagger. You have to be able to adapt, and they have not been able to. And
it goes back to what I was saying earlier, Isaac, about there's a guy on the offensive side and the defensive side. If you don't like the play call, the reason I'm saying this is because I remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how they took out the run pass option, this, that, and the third. Jalen Hurts, you're the quarterback. Make the fucking audible if you don't like the play.
Yeah.
Make the audible.
Yeah.
We hear Lamar after several games this year say his offensive coordinator is giving him the keys. If he doesn't like something, he's changing the play at the line. Mm-hmm. That play that Zay Flowers scored on, where Lamar drops back and he looks to the left and then he throws it to the right to Zay Flowers, that was an audible. That wasn't the original play call that was called.
And so what a fantastic play it was, too.
If you see something, say something and change the play. So, and it goes back to what I said about Jalen Hurts. How long has this podcast been on now? 2 years? 3 years?
We have been on the air for 2 years.
All right. I can tell you the very first time I ever got on this podcast, we talked about Jalen Hurts, and I told Kylie he is a fraud 5-star quarterback. The reason what I mean by 5-star quarterback is if he doesn't have his 5-star guys around him and they're not doing what they need to do, Jalen Hurts is absolutely terrible. You saw it at Alabama. You saw it at Oklahoma. Yes, he won the Heisman at Oklahoma, but as soon as CeeDee Lamb went down at Oklahoma, you saw what happened to that Oklahoma team.
I think what you're describing is a system quarterback who needs things to be perfect without him and is just a product of his environment.
A lot of people say, too, their argument to me was, oh, he won a national championship at Alabama. No, he didn't. Tua Tagovailoa won a national championship at Alabama. Jalen Hurts got benched.
He did get benched.
So, like, I've been saying it since college. The guy, he's not as great as everybody says he is. And then everybody's like, oh, he has 16 rushing touchdowns this year. Okay, 15 of them are at the 1-yard line with 12 guys pushing behind him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do agree with you on that. So 40's been saying it since day one that Hurts has been overrated and everything like that. I'm not going to say Hurts is terrible. I actually like what he's done in the league.
I'm not going to say he's overrated. I just don't think he's as good as what everyone says.
That's overrated. What the fuck does overrated mean?
All right, well, then he's overrated then.
All right. Real quick, I just realized, because you brought that up, 40, today actually is the 2-year anniversary of Beer Better Sports. All the way back in January of 2021 when me and Kylie sat down on a Zoom call to record the first episode of what was then Sportsgasm.
My God.
Until we were told that name was too risque. I thought it was great, but Beer Better Sports is also a really great title.
I did think you got a better sport. I think Beer Better Sports is an upgrade.
Yeah,
improvement.
And I don't know. I remember pitching. I remember pitching Sportsgasm to Kylie, saying like it's going to be provocative. It's going to get the people going, like that Will Ferrell quote that made it to. Yeah. That made it to,
Several music outlets.
Yeah. One last game, final game of the regular season. Bills best the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football to clinch the AFC East. I'm just gonna say, Dolphins, y'all blew that shit. Y'all blew that.
Josh Allen had it in the game, and they still blew it.
Ooh, Yoni wants our playoff brackets. Good.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. Don't worry.
We're about to get into that because let's move on to the playoffs. Unless anyone has any thoughts on Josh Allen, I have a button I can press that if we need it too.
Did he throw one this week? I think he did.
Did he? Let me check. Did Josh Allen throw a pick? He threw 2. Ding, 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 ding,
20
ding, ding.
20 interceptions on the season.
This is 20 interceptions or 20 turnovers?
Let's find out. He's thrown 18 interceptions. It's kind of some Brett Favre numbers there, my friend. It's kind of some Brett Favre numbers.
He'll be kicked out the first round too. Don't worry.
You think so? No, because aren't they playing Pittsburgh? Aren't they playing Pittsburgh without TJ Watt?
I'll gamble Pittsburgh's defense over Josh Allen.
No TJ Watt. No TJ Watt though.
Mike Tomlin's still there, right?
No, he left over the week. He's done. Whatever, bro.
All right.
What?
I am going to go ahead and share screen because we are going to. Let me pull this up.
It's playoff time, baby.
It's time, baby. Oh,
Most exciting time of the year.
That time
I've been
again.
waiting for this, man.
We've got ourselves some great games.
Need that J. Cole sound like. It's that time again.
My two predictions are the 1 seeds. I love it.
Hold on. I have to put that in there. There we go. All right. Playoff predictor on PFN. Let's a Pro Football Network. All right. So let's predict the playoffs. And this will also serve as our game predictions for each game. And we're going to start with the AFC. 7 versus 2. Buffalo Bills. We thought they were dead at 6-6. They ran the gauntlet. They won the division despite Josh Allen trying to throw their season away all the time. They're going up against a Steelers team who fired their offensive coordinator mid-season, just snuck into the playoffs. I think this is probably the most. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make 3 of these. We're each going to fill one out. So let me just set that up. But in the meantime, you guys.
We gotta have a singular BBS one, and then we'll each post our ones on Twitter. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. Our singular BBS one. So who do we got winning this first game, gentlemen?
I mean, as much as I like to joke around about the guy, obviously I'm going to pick Josh Allen over Mason Rudolph. I absolutely despise the guy. I think he's terrible, but he's way better than Mason Rudolph. Not only that, I think that Stephon Diggs is a little hungry. He's tired of losses in the playoffs. So I think those guys will come out and no TJ Watt. I think it'll be a great game, and it'll be very close. But, the Bills sneak out with a W.
No, what do you think?
I think the Bills are a far superior team, but part of me thinks, you know what? What if Josh Allen just blows this game? What if he just turns the ball over too much?
It wouldn't surprise me. Like, it wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers win. I'm picking the Bills to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers win.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that at all. Yeah. I really, as a Ravens fan, I kind of want the Steelers to win so that we can just obliterate them. But since apparently it's not going to be happening anyways, because I don't think that's how it works. Let me go with the Bills. I believe in the Bills more than I do.
That's 2 of 3 got for Buffalo, so I'll have Buffalo advance. But I will say this: do I like drag and drop? No, I just click. Okay. I agree with you guys. I mean, Pittsburgh doesn't really belong.
Sorry,
the 7th seed has always kind of been iffy. It's like doesn't really need to exist. It's only there for the NFL to make more money. Steelers have no business being in the playoffs at all. There's going to be a Buffalo bloodbath. But I will say this. Last year, Buffalo nearly blew it to the 7th seed. So if there's any one game, this isn't the game where I think the 7th seed is going to get the upset. But I will say the Bills, they have a tendency to kind of play this down to their competition. The previous games they've gone up against the 7th seed in 2020 against the Colts and last year against the Dolphins, they've played down to their competition very badly. So I'm just going to leave that out there. They've done that. Chiefs, Dolphins. Tyreek Hill joins the Dolphins, turns them into an offensive juggernaut, but they struggle against top teams coming to this playoffs as the 6th seed. They're going up against Tyreek's former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the West, but at a cost. It was a brutal season for them as they saw a noticeable drop in quality as the defending Super Bowl champions. And now they meet in Arrowhead Stadium in what is being forecast as one of the coldest games in NFL history, according to the weather reports, and also a game that most of America won't be able to watch because they don't have Peacock, including my mom, who is extremely pissed off.
This game here, we saw a preview of it in the regular season in Germany. Chiefs came out with the victory in that one. As the season went on, I think the Dolphins got a little bit better than the Chiefs. I mean, I know the 3 seed, 6 seed tells you different, but that's just because the Chiefs division is absolutely garbage. Not only that, Tua statistics in cold games. I was looking at a stat the other day. Tua statistics in cold games are absolutely horrible.
I saw that too.
Statistically, on paper, the Chiefs should win this football game. But Tyreek Hill going back into Kansas City, he didn't have much of a productive game the first time against Kansas City, I don't believe, if I can remember correctly. I think he blows the top off of these guys and gives them a run for their money and tells them this is why you should have paid me. So I'm going to go ahead with the upset here and pick the Dolphins.
Noam, what do you think?
I saw the same stat, or the same whatever that 40 did, where it said it talked about the weather and Tua's performance in it, and also the Dolphins in general performance.
That shit is garbage.
They're horrible. The Dolphins are horrible, and to me, I don't know if it matters how open Tyreek Hill can get if Tua can't fucking hit him. So
no, I say that I like that, and I like that you say that, but I feel like sometimes that the NFL and other things put this information out to make us go on one side, like
fair enough,
for like betting reasons and shit like that. When bettors like myself see that, everybody's gonna go hammer the Chiefs, obviously. When you see a statistic like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't. Yeah, I can't really.
That does make me doubt things, because it does make things feel a little bit trap game-ish. But then again, I mean, if they're both good teams, is it really a trap game? I don't know. Damn, I don't know. Also, come on, like the Chiefs' drop issues have continued. They haven't gotten better. They've just kind of gone away from the mainstream, but they've definitely continued. They haven't fixed that. If that happens here, fucking, I mean, if throwing a Kadarius Toney or even like Travis Kelce, who's apparently no longer him, ah,
And that's why I think this game is very evenly matched, because the Chiefs have had a lot of drops over the last couple weeks. Not only have they had a lot of drops, but the Dolphins have a run game that is phenomenal. And if that run game starts going and going and going and going, I don't know how the Chiefs are going to stop them.
shit, you're right. Shit, dude, I don't know. I want to take the Chiefs so badly. I just no. I'm gonna trust Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs more than I'm gonna trust anything that I've seen from Tua.
I like that.
Okay,
I like that.
I guess I got to be the tiebreaker here. I'll say this.
You got to go to the home team, or else your mom would beat your ass. So just go ahead and go ahead and click Chiefs.
The problem is, I think the Chiefs are a first-round exit this year because they've played so poorly, but that defense has kept them in games all season long. The offense is trash this year. They've taken such a big step backward, but their defense has kept them alive. But Miami, again, the elements are going to be against them. It's going to be a freezing cold day. Miami, the last couple of games, they really haven't looked in sync. I'm going to break the tie and go with the Chiefs, but I think it's going to be like a ridiculously low-scoring defensive game. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I definitely like that too, about, looking at taking Patrick Mahomes over Tua. I mean, this guy's a two-time Super Bowl champion, so I definitely understand that.
It's going to be an ugly-ass game, though. I'll say that. Our last wild card game, I think the one most people are interested in for the AFC. So we've got the Cleveland Browns, racked by injuries early in the season, have started 5 different quarterbacks this year, somehow found a diamond in the rough with Joe fucking Flacco, going in against the Houston Texans, who are expected to be horrible this season, but have defied the odds to win the AFC South. I'll go first on this one and simply say it. As much as I'd love to see Houston take a big step forward, I don't know if you're going to stop the Joe Flacco train. He's still got a lot left in the tank.
I'm going to lose my camera for 1 second. Sorry.
Go ahead. And this Browns team has been just dominant down the stretch. I'm going to pick Cleveland to win this one.
Picking Cleveland, Isaac?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. I think that this is going to be probably the most exciting AFC game of the week. I think it will be very high scoring. I honestly, I can't. I want to say both teams. I wish both teams could tie in advance, honestly, because I don't want the Flacco show to stop yet. But this Texans team has proven that they deserve to be on the big stage and play in the playoffs and compete with these teams. And they've shown us a lot of grit and nastiness, and that they can come through and win a game when it matters. That being said, that Browns number 2 defense in the NFL, I think takes over in this game and gets them the W.
2 for the Browns. That advances them. Noam, who's your pick?
I would just going to go for the Browns for the same reasons Forty said. Solid defense, Joe Flacco. So I do think it'll be – I also like him. I think it's going to be a very interesting game.
Yeah.
Well, if you'll see here, Noam, you notice now who you have in the divisional round.
Yes, I see. I know.
Yeah.
So here's that's another thing. I mean,
that's what we expected anyway.
The storylines, man. The storylines this season are all crazy, bro. Like freaking Stafford, Goff. We'll get into that, obviously. But all this
Tyreek
kind of stuff,
going back to Kansas City.
Every game seems to have some kind of unique storyline to it, except for the Steelers and Bills, because obviously the Steelers don't belong in the playoffs. But for every other team, they're all interesting,
And the thing is about that Browns-Texans game, if it wasn't Joe Flacco, it'd be Deshaun Watson playing his old team.
Didn't think of that. Interesting.
Well, how about that? NFC, Green Bay taking on Dallas. The Packers fought their way to the final wild card spot. They have the youngest roster to ever make a playoff, I believe, with Jordan Love doing something that Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers weren't able to do, and that is in their first year as starting quarterback of the Packers, take the team to the playoffs. They face a Dallas team that has one of the best offenses in the league, that has been clicking all season, and feels like this is the year they can finally get past the second round. I'm going to go for a really funny hot take here. This probably isn't going to happen.
What are you going to say?
I want to see this for the memes. Ever since the 7th seed was introduced, we all knew that somebody is going to be the unfortunate bastard to be the first team to lose to a 7th seed. And you know what? For the memes and for the love of the fact that this team just has not been able to beat good teams this year and has struggled all year against good teams and needed the refs to bail them out to win a GEF team, I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to upset the Cowboys and just make Jerry Jones just eat it. I'm going to take Green Bay to pull the biggest upset in the NFL playoff history and be the first 7th seed to beat a 2 seed. Partially, it's because I hate the Cowboys, but another part of it is that, honestly, Cowboys really haven't done well against teams with winning records this year. You look at what they've been able to accomplish, not much. The few wins they have, there's been some the one game against Detroit, there was those controversial calls. I'm just saying it could happen, and I want it to happen. We need a trap game, and this is the trap game. Also, Green Bay just has this ability to just beat the crap out of Dallas when they play each other in the playoffs. Like these two teams have faced each other like 9 times in the playoffs now, and Green Bay usually wins.
You know,
to say about this game.
I'm actually going to agree with you. Mike McCarthy's old team. If anybody knows Mike McCarthy like the back of their hand, I'm sure it would be his old team. Not only that, I just, I've never really been impressed with Dallas. I don't care what their regular season record says. Every time it comes to the playoffs, we see what happens. And I think that the Packers caught momentum at the right time. They have a healthy Jair Alexander back. We can label him as one of the top 10 or 5 corners in the league, I guess.
Top 3. Healthy, top 3 for me.
Healthy, I'll still put him top 5, but I'm not going to push the top 3 yet. But with him, as well as the Packers defense is always solid. Rashawn Gary.
Not this year, man. This year their defense is
They
shit.
have good players.
Yeah,
good solid players.
Very true. But offensive wise, I think Jordan Love has caught fire at the right time. He got Aaron Jones back at the right time. All of that. Dallas, I really feel like if you take away Dak Prescott, you win the football game. Because honestly, I don't even really think he's that good. But he's besides CeeDee Lamb, he's the best thing on that offense. And if you take those 2 away, I don't see where their offense comes from. So I'm going to go Green Bay.
I have a lot to say. So here's the thing. Just running through real quick. Youngest team ever to make the playoffs is not as something in the favor of Green Bay. It's actually
I know.
They're in Jerry World, much more experienced, and they are much better top to bottom. Much better offense, much better defense than Green Bay has. That being said, I wouldn't say they have a much better quarterback though, because I'm a huge fan of Jordan Love. But yeah, and I know some people might say I personally don't give any credence to Mike McCarthy against his old team. I actually think he's going to be worse against them because he's a very predictable head coach.
Exactly.
And LaFleur can easily outcoach him. I actually think that's something. I think there's more there than that. I think that's actually an advantage towards Green Bay, not Dallas. I think Dallas, they caught fire at the exact right time. They're coming off a bunch of wins. They just annihilated a division rival in the last week. They're red hot. They are so much more talented. With all their offensive weapons and the way they've been clicking against a Joe Barry I want to say the Packers so badly because they're still the Cowboys and I can't trust them and never will. I can't. However, every time I've said that this year, they've ended up winning the game. I've said that against the Eagles. I'm like, yeah, the Eagles are in free fall, but the Cowboys are still the Cowboys. They can't play good teams. Little did I know the Eagles actually aren't a good team. But anyway, who would have said that at the time? The Packers are a good team, but their defense is horrible. Their defense is atrocious, man. I can't stand their defense. Their defensive coordinator, I think, is like one of the worst in the league. There's every reason to say Dallas, except the fact that they are the Dallas Cowboys, and that means the Dallas Cowboys suck. So that means they're going to lose in the first round.
Yeah.
I fully believe it. But every time I say that, I want the Packers to win, but there's just too much in favor of Dallas. I'm going to take Dallas personally, and I guess we'll split this 2-1. But I will say I want the Packers to win.
Oh yeah, I want them to win too. I think we all do. Let's move on to arguably the most anticipated game of Wild Card Weekend. The game that everyone is going to be tuned in to watch, Stafford's return. Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams take on his former team as they face Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions in the first playoff game held in Detroit since the 90s. Ooh, I'll let you guys go first for this one.
I'll take it if you don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Detroit, welcome back to the playoffs. It's been a while. Jared Goff against his old team against Matthew Stafford against his old team. Now, Sean McVay, guys. I mean, come on. You don't think he already knows the inside of Jared Goff's brain at this point?
Yeah, Sean McVay can tell you a goddamn play that happened in 2016.
Yeah, he's just gonna. I mean, I feel like he's just gonna know where Goff is gonna throw the ball. Frankly, now, Dallas, Detroit's hot at the right time. They are solid. They're okay against good teams, but to me, the Rams are a little bit more battle tested than the Lions are. I feel like the Lions have struggled in games that they shouldn't have, and I feel like in the games that are kind of the prove-it games, they haven't necessarily performed the greatest. Meanwhile, the Rams went toe-to-toe with the Ravens. The Ravens won off of an overtime punt return touchdown in their game in Baltimore. That is huge.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford's been unbelievable. I'm going to take the Rams. I think they're better.
Yeah, not only did they go toe-to-toe with the Ravens, they put up 30 points against the number one defense in the rain.
Yep.
And I'm going to agree with you. That Sean McVay comment is really what, set it off. Guy's an absolute mastermind, and I'm sure he is.
You can see it, right? You can see it.
I'm sure he knows Jared Goff like the back of his hand. So with that defense, I mean, Aaron Donald is on the older side now, but at the end of the day, that defense still does have Aaron Donald. The offensive side, you have
he's still Aaron Donald,
Yeah.
Led all interior defensive rushers in pressures again this year by a lot.
And then on the offensive side, you have a great rookie in Puka Nacua, and then you have arguably you got Kyren Williams, you got arguably top 2 receiver in the league in Cooper Kupp when healthy. So, just a lot of weapons, a lot of mastermind tendencies going on over there. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Rams.
Yep.
Is that 2 for the Rams?
That is 2 for the Rams.
All right,
What's your take?
Rams. I actually think the Rams are going to win too. Detroit has been really suspect this season, especially mid-year against some good teams and some bad teams. And I think that is going to be something that comes back to haunt them. I will say, I do think that this team it's going to be a tough fight. But you guys are right. Sean McVay is a mastermind. He's got this team. You know that he knows every move that Jared Goff is going to make. It's kind of like when the Bucs played the Raiders in the Super Bowl back in 2002. And John Gruden was like, "Oh, we got this, guys. I coached this team last year. I know every single signal that Rich Gannon is going to call," which he did. So it's kind of like one of those. I will say it's going to be a battle. Like these two teams are going to beat the crap out of each other. But I think the Rams are going to upset the Lions. Detroit will be back though, but Detroit has some issues they're going to have to address in the offseason that I think are going to get exposed, particularly on the defensive side of the ball that are going to get exposed in this game. Our final wild card game, and the final game we'll talk about. Well, for the third year in a row, me and Kylie are facing off in the playoffs in some capacity as the Bucs take on the Eagles. And you guys know who I'm picking. That's all you need to know there.
Hey, listen, man. Much as I hate that other guy too, there's 2 quarterbacks that I absolutely despise in the NFL, and that is Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen. But
what did Baker ever do to you? What did Baker do to you?
You know what Baker did to me? The guy had Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham and didn't do a goddamn thing. That's what Baker Mayfield did to me.
Facts. You might as well have ended Jarvis Landry's excellent career.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to go. But this week, I'm not even going to give an explanation. I'm going to go with the Bucs. Todd Bowles, great defensive play caller. I think that defense can beat the shit out the Eagles, if we're being honest. And that's all I'm really going to say to it. I'm going to go with the Bucs too.
As much as I want the Eagles to right the ship this week, I can't see it. Now, I understand. So they've just lost to teams that are worse than the Bucks during this free fall. Am I really supposed to believe that that's going to end here? Now, the Bucks aren't very impressive. They barely beat they barely beat the Panthers, but I mean 9-0 is technically a 2-score game, so it's not barely, but they couldn't score more against the Panthers with nothing to play for whatsoever. I don't think the Bucks are overly impressive, but man, the Eagles are so bad. I can't take them to win. I'm sorry. I got to go to the Bucks too. That's all of Beard Battered Sports on the Fired Up Sports Network is taking the Bucks over the Eagles. I'm sorry, guys.
I
want the Eagles to win. No offense,
I just realized that our NFC playoff matchups for the divisional round are the same as they were 2 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right. Our hypothetical divisional round. Let's rapid fire this. We'll start Ravens, Browns. Joe Flacco returns to Baltimore. Yeah, Ravens. Sorry, Joe. Chiefs, Bills. Oh God.
KC. Bills cheated them in the regular season. KC.
Chiefs by just a little bit. It's gonna be close.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
As much as I hate that call came back, that Kadarius Toney, Travis Kelce play was absolutely phenomenal.
I actually think the Bills would win that one. I don't trust the Chiefs to get past the second round, but
yeah, me too. Like they could.
You guys both took the Chiefs.
Fair enough. It could be like who's going to throw the game away more, the Chiefs receivers or Josh Allen, right? I just think the Chiefs are probably in Mahomes.
Probably a dumbass.
Very true. But when I look at the quarterback, I'm definitely taking Pat over
easily
Josh any day of the week.
No one's going to argue that, surely.
Packers at Niners. I think we all are going to take one team in particular here.
Yeah, San Fran, and then I'm going to go with the Rams in that divisional round. I think.
I don't think we're getting past the Rams on this one, boys. So that's what I'm saying. Noam, what about you? Oh my!
And I hope my own personal bracket does not come out like this because it looks much different.
Yeah, I have my personal bracket's going to be a lot different.
Niners.
Yeah, I think
Packers.
my personal bracket's going to be
Rams
as well.
Rams over Bucks. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that looks right.
Conference championship games.
Ravens.
The two people I said would be in it at the beginning of the season. Ravens,
as long
49ers.
As 8 is on the field. They have
I think Ravens Niners, bro. No, that's look good to you. And then who are we taking way too early?
As long as 8's on the goddamn
I feel field. To be honest, I feel like the Rams have a chance against the Niners. Like I feel like they have a solid chance.
They do.
I mean, division game, yeah, you're right. But
they're good, and I mean, I don't know. McVay, Shanahan, it comes down to this again. God. I mean, Shanahan's got the much better team. I got to go with the Niners. They're just good, man. Like they're just really solid. I could see it though. I could see it. I could see it for the Rams.
Baltimore, San Fran, Super Bowl 58.
The Ravens.
We'll be in Baltimore for this parade, man.
Please.
That's what we'll be.
Please, Ravens. I'll go with you. Absolutely. If that happens,
will too.
Please. Ravens will win the Super Bowl. I hope.
Better. We'll be posting our own individual. Brackets this week to let you guys know who we individually are picking. But that's our official Beer Batter Sports as a group pick. We got the Ravens taking on the Niners of the Super Bowl. With that being said, we're going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode of Beer Battered Sports. Remember, this podcast is a member of the Fired Up Sports Podcast Network. Go check out all their other shows. You can follow us on all of our social media at bbsports_pod and check out our Twitter bio for our merch. We will see you guys next week for episode 98, where we recap the wild card games and talk about the divisional round. In the meantime, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We will see you guys next week. Peace.